All right, so
I've,
welcome everybody.
I learned
It's good to
Thursday night that Okimo's training manager and Mount Snow's training manager is now Dave Raybold out of Stowe. Also, Stowe's training manager. So he's now in charge of all three mountains as far as the training is concerned.
So all the Eastern Vale resorts are having like one training session. Does that include Hunter?
Hunter is not under his purview.
So just the Vermont Vale resorts.
Yes.
What's his name again, Mike?
Dave Raybold.
Thanks.
Raybould.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Patty.
No, it's Kelby.
Oh,
Kelby.
how are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Is your child walking around yet?
Not yet.
Not
He's
yet.
trying to independently stand.
Good.
He just
You got
had
all your
checkup.
cabinet doors are locked now, right? Because everything from about here down is now free game.
Yeah.
Your
He
life
got
is
home from
over.
Colorado and he could stand up in his crib.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long.
Yeah, wait
grow
till he
fast.
climbs out of the crib.
Mm.
Yeah, that's coming too. All right. Well, welcome everybody to another edition of our webinar. And I got a request last week. I think, Jim, you were the one that was asking about what the expectations were for the exams.
Yeah, the harmonization of the East and West.
Okay. So the East has been they've always kind of in the past future, they've always kind of combined the teach and the teach and the MA together. And so you would have a teach component, then you had a ski MA a ski component, and then a teach MA together, and they will have split them off. That's part of the new alignment that's happening across the nation. So you'll have 3 days. And there'll be a ski day, a teach day, and an MA day. And that'll be true across the country.
Okay, but now here's the question. It used to be, how did it used to be at ski college, level 2 college? I'm gonna obviously.
No, that's something I can't answer that question at all.
Historically, how was it?
Maybe, well, I mean, Kelby, you went to it last year, didn't you?
No.
It wasn't you. Somebody here actually went to you're talking about Pro Jam, right?
Yes.
Previously Pro Jam, which is not like the
So
Eastern.
the college would be like 3 days of coaching and 2 days of testing.
But that's my question. Testing of
I
which?
don't know.
What?
I don't know if they're going to continue doing that.
Well, previously there was where you could do it for ski college, and then the other college was, the MA and teach.
Okay.
And so I don't know what they're doing now, but because I passed the skiing and I'm still working on the MA and teach.
Which will now be separate tests. I think
Probably going to be a separate test because that's a requirement.
All right. So we have to, let me recap. We have to wait for PSA to make an announcement about Pro Jam, what the format is for level 2 college.
East. Yes.
But
you'll have to find out what happens in the East.
But a second question, what about the notion of harmonization, meaning I'm in the East, I'm also in Intermountain. Mm-hmm. So if I pass one piece in the East, can I take the other two out West, or how's that work? And are they the same? Because somebody may comment, oh, it's a little different. I don't know if they were just.
That's another question I cannot answer. You would think it would be easy to answer that one. But traditionally in the past, once you passed, you had to pass all your exam tasks in the same division.
Is
That is
So
Regina the
my
you,
best?
understanding is that for ski day, it is a pass or fail of the whole day. No longer a passing tasks. It's no longer station for any of the divisions.
yeah,
Say that
for
again.
this,
Say that again.
You have for the ski day, because they're looking at it in terms of your overall movement patterns rather than just at your tasks. They're not passing or failing tasks. They're using tasks to evaluate your movement patterns.
Yeah.
You don't pass or fail individual tasks. You pass or fail the whole day.
Okay.
but
So,
that's for what he's asking is if I take the ski and pass it in the east and then go out to Park City
oh,
or you're going to Deer Valley, right?
Deer Valley.
I
And
actually
then,
know the answer to this because
oh,
we
cool.
just had an employee. Bailey had to do this.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
so he had 2 of the 3 days pass, one in the west, one in the east. Um, because they grouped the MA and teach on the same day, they did not accept that day in Rocky, and they made him retake both of those. Um, they did accept his ski, even though it was passed in a different division. It is up
So,
to the division. You would have to contact the division office to see if they are going to honor it.
okay, but what I think I heard was they do teach and movement analysis as a single day out in the wherever it was out west somewhere, right? Is
In the
that what you said?
east.
In the
In the
east.
east.
In the east as a single
Yes.
day, but now we're going to 2 day to separate days. So that might be what I heard about that. It wasn't the same across the nation.
No.
Correct.
It will be
So
this year.
now
Right.
you will still have to check with the division that you wish to, like, if you do one, like you take something in the east and then you move to Utah, you have to check with Intermountain and see if they are willing to accept it. Right now, because we haven't hit total alignment across the US, it is up to each individual division to accept partial passes. Full passes are accepted nationwide. So if you have your level 2 pin, it's accepted nationwide. If you have only part of your level 2, it is up to the division that you're moving to on whether they will accept it. If it's an individual day, like the ski day, you have a decent chance of it being accepted from what I have seen happen to employees that have come to Winter Park from outside. But that's dealing with Rocky. Intermountain actually seems to be slightly more accepting because they have to work closely with Northern Rocky Mountain as well. So
I'm
they seem to be a little flexible.
Okay. All right.
Does this help?
Kind of. I figure out which division Utah's in. I assume Intermountain. I don't even know.
Utah is Intermountain.
Okay.
Northern Intermountain is like Idaho and Wyoming. But you'll have to contact Park City and they'll let you know.
Deer Valley. Got it.
Yeah, Park City is where PSIA
Oh,
Intermountain is at.
oh, oh, the headquarters. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And Dio knows
Sorry.
more than I do about that. She's our training supervisor, right? Did I say that right? Or is it manager? I never
I am
get those
not the
two right.
manager. Shannon's the manager.
Shannon's the manager, and you're just a lowly supervisor.
That's right. I am the data entry trainer concierge.
The tip of the spear.
You got
All
a
right, groovy.
problem, you come see me.
All right, I just wanted to follow up real quick last week from anything that questions that might have come up from last week while we have Mike here. Does anybody have any questions about what happened last week when we were talking about technical foundations and beautiful, wonderful PSIA man?
Chuck, this is Kimberly. Is that easy to
Yes,
find on YouTube? Is it labeled or is it just
it
the
should
name?
be. Yes, yes, it'll be the first one on my page.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah. Mhm. It's a good listen. I listened to it and had a couple people email me about it. I know Jerry Ann sent me some notes that she thought was useful. All right, cool. Any other questions? No? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the framing of tonight. So I got a task for you guys. And I know everybody's nice and comfortable in sitting down, but I want you to get up and walk across the room and then walk back again. And then when you get back, instead of telling me what you see or feel, I need you to write it into the chat. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. All right. Just get up, walk across the room, notice some stuff, and then come back and tell me about it. All right.
Oh,
You know, I just did a walking meditation yesterday for like 3 hours.
Walking meditation. Huh?
Walking meditation.
Cool. Just real quick, type something into the chat. It's about what you noticed. Cool. That's a good one. All right, I'm getting a bunch of stuff here. So I got one that says my back and glutes immediately relaxed. Another one says heel toe, looking at pictures on the wall. Foot and toe interaction with the floor. Weight heel to ball of foot, push off to next step. And I love this one. The texture of floor on my feet. And the one that's really probably the most important one, I think it's really, really relevant. I closed a window. Worked on balance. All right. Rocking chair, rocking horse, 3 guitars, desk, jumbled furniture, faded light. All right. Cool. Um, good. So a lot of these were pretty, I mean, I kind of gave you a vague task, right? And I got a bunch of kind of vague answers. So we're going to do this a little bit differently this time. We're going to do the same walk, okay? But I want you to put your attention into one place. I want you to put it into the instant when the one foot gives up the weight and the other one takes it. And again, we're going to type it into the chat. All right, so give it another try. So All right, cool. Let's see what we got here. All right, and then briefly, why are you here, Dion? Dion had a race today.
Because I can be.
Cool.
It was 101 degrees in Fort Collins, thank you.
It was, yeah, it was.
Yes.
It wasn't humid like it was here, though. It was insane today. I got out at 8:30 and was done by, I'm not sorry, I got out at 8 and was done by 10:30 and was like, this was awful. All right, so we got peaceful feeling staying at Airbnb. I think that was hold on, let me get to the new ones here. All right, good. So what did you guys notice? I sway too much. All right, so we got center of mass is between my front foot on heel, back foot on toe. Okay. One says tension on the standing foot. Somebody said experience flexion and extension. That's interesting. David is foot to foot pressure. Mike says, relax, saw stuff I need to get done, quiet walking, glute tight from injury, alignment is good, lower back is tight, carpet needs to be vacuumed, saw both monitors, might have to turn my life around. All right. When I leave the ball of my foot, the heel of the other foot receives a weight. Okay, good. You know, the important thing here is that not everybody here felt the same thing. So it was a little bit interesting how people's focuses are a little bit different. So, all right, well, let's do this one last time. And all I want you to do is same walk, focus again on that where one foot leaves the floor and I'm sorry, one foot is beginning to leave the floor and the other one is starting to take up weight. And what do you notice when that happens? But I want you to do it at half speed. Only go very slowly. Okay? Go. Cool. Getting some good ones. And trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. All right. So don't feel like we're just walking around in circles. All right. We're getting some very specific stuff now. So I want to pick somebody. I'm looking for one that might be interesting. Somebody, okay, that's a good one. All right. Alona.
Yes.
So you said the slower I walk, the more micro movements occur in my foot to balance. So I'm your guinea pig now.
Mhm.
Okay. So talk me through that feeling.
So that feeling is an instability as I stabilize my leg and balance to take my next step.
Okay. So,
Just as if you were just as if you were balancing on one leg.
okay. I'm balanced on my back foot right now.
Right, but it looks
I
to
got
me like
I
you're
got my front foot up in the air, right?
okay, but
So what do I do next? What am I
what I
looking for?
see in your stance is that your weight is more aft. You're primarily on your heel. But
Right.
if you were moving toward the ball of your foot, which is what you
Mhm.
have to do to walk, you're going to
Right.
find that there's some instability if you're going to take that movement slower.
Okay. So as I move from one to the other, what am I trying to get? What am I getting here?
What I felt is I felt micro movements in my foot to balance and stabilize myself before I took my next step.
Can we describe it more?
No, it would
No,
be
that's
as if
fine.
an analogy would be as if anyone stood on the round part of a Bosu ball and tried to stabilize himself. You're moving somewhat,
Hmm.
but when I'm taking a faster step, I'm not experiencing that.
Yeah, so the slower step helped you kind of formulate the how the pieces were working together.
It No, it didn't
Okay,
formulate how the pieces were moving together. It showed me that I had instability if I slowed the movement pattern down.
cool. So can I get a little bit more information about and are there any sensations that you had? I'm not trying to lead this. I'm just asking a little bit more.
Yeah, so I felt that the uh, small bones in my feet were moving in maybe a side to side or a mid range, just as the description I gave of being on the round end of a Bosu ball to find that stabilization and balance before I took a next step. So
Okay.
almost as if my hand was the ball of my foot, that the tendons, that the bones were sort of moving a little bit like this to stabilize myself
All right,
as I
cool.
slowed
So
myself
sensation
down.
is that kind of rocking thing.
Yes, just as
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
So
All
I
right.
have a question. I mean, is it really
Yeah.
that you're feeling it, that it's different because you're slower, or just that because when you're walking faster, you don't have enough time to spend to feel those micro movements?
That's correct. The same,
Okay.
the same, for instance, as I'm doing some static exercises to improve my one-legged skiing. I'm standing as I'm brushing my teeth. I'm standing. I
Yeah.
I am
That
doing
too.
that.
I do that too.
I I'm standing on one leg and I'm balancing myself as that sonic hair is moving around in my mouth. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel those micro movements to keep me upright and stable.
Cool.
I
Cool.
use actually I put a pillow under my foot so that it's not just on the flat surface.
Could you repeat that, Rebecca? I didn't quite hear you.
Yeah, I use a pillow under my foot when I stand on one leg to brush my teeth, just so that I don't have a sort of solid surface, but a kind of less stable surface because I don't have a balancing ball or whatever. to,
Cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be like practice though, right? Because we don't think about all these kind of movements when we're actually like walking around. Right. What I, you know. So what was the thing that I did here that got you from just walking around and noticing the pictures on the wall to these smaller pieces, to the micro movements inside my foot to help balance? What was the thing that I did that allowed you to start noticing that?
You focused our attention.
Sure. How?
Well, you asked us to slow it down and to notice, what was happening when you slowed it down. So I think,
Yeah, that was still pretty broad though, wasn't it?
yeah, but then I think when we slowed it down, we started to see more clearly what was actually happening.
So
Yeah.
isn't this a classic example of dirt?
It's kind of like dirt, yeah, but we actually are going to use a different word today. But the point is that and this is teach focused. Okay. So the idea is that we need to, as instructors, we want to be able to focus on some kind of a movement, right? And we got to get our um our client, our guest to focus their attention on something, right? This is not
Mhm.
familiar. This is very familiar, right? This is the thing that we do. So what do? We focus their attention. We give them a task. We have a task, and there are differences between tasks and environmental. We'll go in that here in a minute or two. But what we're doing is we're taking that movement that we want them to focus on and constraining the attention down to a particular area, right? So Alona was really focusing on the foot as she slowed it down, and I slowed it down. I gave her a different constraint to help her so all that stuff doesn't overload. It doesn't come in as a flood, but now she can start having those sensations and feelings more slowly, which gives her more time to process that as a movement pattern. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So today, this is an example of using constraints to help us move down. How many of you know who Sasha Reardon is? May or may not. If it hasn't come up, I encourage you to kind of look it up, especially since he's done a couple of webinars, or not webinars, but podcasts with Tom Gelly. Highly encourage you to look it up. But Sasha is a former U.S. ski team coach. And from what I understand, he's actually back as a ski team coach. He's actually come back. He's like the big honcho over all of U.S. skiing now. He's not like the on snow coach all the time. But the talk that he gave to Tom Gelly is he's a big proponent of what he calls constraints. And taking a task, constraining it down to what you're trying to get them to feel or notice, and then letting the client, the guest, the racer figure it out. Now, I'm gonna pause this for a second because when you're talking about racers like Michaela and all the other ski racers, they only have one outcome that they're really looking for. Get down this hill as quickly as humanly possible, right? So he talks about and this is a directional change, but he talks about doing environmental constraints where he'll set up a gate field in a certain way, and then he'll let them figure out what is the most efficient and fastest path through it. The name is Sasha Rearick, Rearicks. Rearick. I'm sorry, no S on the end. Sasha Rurik, and look up the Tom Gelly. I think it kind of blows you away a little bit. It's a very rich talk. But the idea is the same. Now, when we're talking about our guests, they have a whole broad spectrum of outcomes that they're looking for. They may want to go, hey, you know what, Gummy, I need to go out and I need to do bumps today. Well, that's a different kind of outcome, right? Or I want to be more of a carve skier, or I just want to be able to get down this blue hill, or I am just learning how to ski, and this is my very first turns. So how we constrain them for a teach is kind of more broad, right? Sasha Ririk can go out and set up a gate field and say, go, figure it out. And let the players, the racers figure it out. We don't have that luxury. We actually have to guide them using our language skills and our people skills and our teaching ideas to a spot. And we want to be able to do that by constraining down the task or the environment in the same way. But we're still talking about, but we want to have them focused on attention. Does this make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
Chuck, I have something I could probably add to that.
Yeah, go.
Chuck, I'm Charlie. I'm also from Stowe, Vermont. Um,
Nice. Nice to
so
meet you.
one of Nice to meet you as well. So one of the topics that has come up, like I've listened to that constraint-based learning with Sasha, and
Yeah.
some of the ways that we think about constraint-based learning in PSIA is through something, I don't know if anybody's heard of it before. Maybe the Stowe people have heard me mention it, is the five S's. So you can change the five S's to change
Right.
constraints. It would be the shape of the turn, the size of the turn, the speed they're skiing at, the surface that you're skiing on, or the slope that you're skiing on. And so, like, in relation to us walking earlier and the task that you gave us, you changed the speed that we walked at to change the sensation under constraint-based learning. And then you also have activities which would single out certain fundamentals, but when you're looking holistically, those five S's are a good way to create constraints.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm kind of going with this is that we have a plethora of ways that we can modify all of those ideas. Plus, we have, you're not probably as familiar with Rockies as we are, but we have the IDP tasks, such as outside ski turns and all those exam tasks that we use that are also we encourage that teach also that are all constraints also. Right? So we can have them
Yeah,
focus on pieces and parts by using tasks or creating an environment or using the environment to help us do that. Slowing it down, terrain is a
yeah,
big
we
deal. Mhm.
we have those as well in the East. I think they're just used a little bit more as more individually focused fundamental tasks. They are
Yeah,
holistically
yeah.
looked at as well, but they're like under adaptability, versatility,
Hmm.
individual
Yeah,
fundamentals,
we
stuff
have
like
all
that.
those. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that you guys are last year were pretty aligned with where everybody else with Rockies too. A lot of your tasks kind of aligned back up with what was in our IDP. The IDP is gone after this year or last year, right, Dion? Adios forever, and
Don't
then it becomes
know.
more of a well, don't know, which means that translates to maybe. But those,
Maybe, maybe not. It was going to disappear as part of alignment, but we haven't hit alignment yet.
yeah, we haven't hit alignment yet.
So
But
I
the
don't
point is
actually
we
think it
have,
will go away. I think it will just be formatted differently.
it'll be more national.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just like
even
currently they've added stuff from Intermountain to ours.
yeah, they added
So
this. Yeah, they added some stuff, and Central got their little taste too, right? So, like the wedge wiggles came from Central. There were some other tasks that came from other places, and
yeah, who doesn't love short-term leapers?
well,
Me. I don't love short-term leapers.
in the Central, there's not very many bumps, right? So we don't have the opportunity to go out and do zipper line bumps that much. If there is bumps at a hill, it might be 6 or 8 long, and they might be hard as stone, and they might not be very, very well shaped and things like that. In the Rockies, we have lots of opportunities to do those kind of things. So, but I'm getting off track. The point is that we use those tasks as well as our teaching skills and our verbal language to help constrain down and narrow the focus down to those core movements that we're trying to make a change in. Yes, no, maybe. I'm looking for a fight. Anybody?
I think somewhere there's always going to be a list of quote unquote exam tasks.
Yeah. Well, and again, I don't think they're really, I don't consider them exam tests.
No, but if they
I
get
consider
rid of
them
the
teaching tests.
IDP, there will be a list of what they call exam tasks, which is basically the IDP without saying it's the IDP. It'll still have which of the fundamentals they're looking for, and it will still have a description. It will still build progressively from level 1 to level 2 to level 3.
I think their goal is to bring the IDP movements into the performance guide.
What does
Right.
IDP stand for?
Individual developmental pathway. It's just a
Instructor development.
instructor. Pardon me. Is it instructor? I thought it was individual originally.
I think it's individual.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, we're going to look at a skier. And what I have here is a longer video. It's a couple of minutes long. And we're going to be watching the skier and we're going to be looking at the overall pattern. This guy is a pretty good skier. And what we're trying to do here is identify something in the MA, and then how could we modify our teach to strain it down so we can have him focus on those pieces that need to be changed. This is very, very broad. I get it. That's kind of the point. I want to keep it wide open right now. All right. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And I'll stick this guy into the chat also. Whoops. How come you're not doing it? Go. Bam. All right. Here we go.
It's pretty jerky, Chuck.
Pretty jerky.
Yeah.
Let me make it smaller. There. Is that better?
What comes off a bowl of strawberries when you drop this device in the water? These berries are fresh from the store and already rinsed under the tap, but within
Oh,
10
sorry,
minutes,
Peter,
the
I'm
water
going to mute
tastes.
you.
What floats to
Yeah, it's really jerky.
The video is in the chat.
I just went straight to YouTube and it's nice and smooth there.
Yeah. All right, let's just kind of popcorn this. What do you guys notice about this guy skiing? It's pretty good skiing, isn't it? I know that scares some of you.
You can see his ski tips diverge at the top of his left turn. And that tells you that he's inclining and putting more pressure on the inside ski.
Okay. That's a fault, but I asked the open question. I got the open answer.
He's controlling his speed down the hill. Skis are parallel. It's a little bit too far back, but you're right. It's pretty good skiing.
Pretty good skiing. So tell me about the too far back part. What makes you think
Well,
he's too
when
far
I
back?
look at it, when I look at his ankles and his hips and his knees, uh, his hips generally are through shaping and finish, they're behind his ankles. That's probably the biggest clue that I'm looking at.
Okay. Can we be more ski performance focused?
Yeah, the skis bend more from the back than they do from the front.
Right. When and where? Because you're working on your level 3.
You're putting me to work.
Yes. Time to wake the
Um,
brain up, my man.
so I'd say at his most forward position, he's almost centered, but I still think he's a little bit on his heels. So from a ski performance, you can see his tips bouncing around a bit, and it's most obvious from the apex through the finish. He does move a little bit forward at initiation where he's almost centered, but I think he's aft the whole time.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to this guy? This is popcorn style. No wrong answers.
I would tend to agree. The thing that's interesting is his shoulders are over his boots, but it's his butt is crouched back. His shoulders seem like they're good position forward, aft. It's his butt. He keeps squatting down like he's doing weightlifting squats.
Okay. So what should he be doing?
So I'm not seeing him close his ankles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that because of his boots, or is that a choice that he's making, or what are we thinking here?
I don't see him driving his knees forward into his boots. I know that because it's one of my problems. See how he's almost vertical there in the lower leg. There he pushes forward, but still his butt's back.
Okay.
I agree with Scott's assessment, but I also am curious if the snow conditions, being as choppy as they are pushing him aft.
Okay. So you think maybe the environment is an issue? The
Maybe,
terrain?
but certainly there were those who were successful in it. But
We're
but
we're
looking,
not judging his success.
no, of course.
Yeah.
But I noticed exactly what Scott had mentioned in terms of ski tips and the hips being aft. And
Mhm.
I just am curious if the snow conditions are also a factor in his stance.
Okay.
I look at the snow conditions and the fact that it's a powdery spray. I I I agree it's chopped up, but it's not cookies. It's just, tracked snow. It's been, so I don't think it's overly firm or heavy because he is getting a nice spray of dust coming up behind him. So I don't know that personally. I don't think the conditions are causing. I think he's just in his back seat a little bit with his buttocks. You can be back seat with your shoulders. You can be back seat with your buttocks. His case, oh, there it was, especially. certain side shots, you can really write that one. I don't know if it's
Mhm.
timing the same for everybody else, but it almost looks like he's going to sit down in a chair.
To play devil's advocate, what happens if we take a look at him at like
There, better.
128?
128.
Yeah, right around there.
So here is 127. Right.
Chuck, you want to just pause it and move the slider?
Keep going a couple frames.
Yeah, right there.
A little bit front. Now look at, oh, yep,
Yeah, there
Right
you
about
go.
right
there.
there. His knees are past his toes. That ankle is flexed. I'm not saying he doesn't get backseat. I don't think he stays in the backseat. Right there, the ankle's opening as the hips continue to drop. But like just even back a frame from where you were, right there, Gumby. There
Mhm.
are times where he is actually perhaps forward.
Can I make sure I understand
And,
what we mean when
and
we
the
say it?
fundamental does not say stay in the middle of your ski or stay on the front of the ski. It says manage the relationship of the center of mass to the base of support along the length of the base of support.
I think this is probably the best part right here, right? Because when he comes by here, oh man, he looks pretty balanced there.
Yeah, he's not aft there.
He's not really aft there either, right? He's starting
Right
to
there,
new
he's
turn.
actually, he might be too far forward there.
Chuck, I think you can hit the right rather than hitting stop, go, stop, go. I think you can hit the
Oh,
right
I'm
key.
doing that. I know I can do
Sorry.
one frame
Right
at a
there,
time.
he's not aft.
Yeah,
Agree.
he moves
So
forward.
what I'm noticing, and maybe because it's so choppy, I'm missing it. I don't see as much angulation as inclination.
Oh,
Oh, I will agree with that all day long.
okay. So this goes back to kind of Kelby's point. What did you say, Kelby?
Sorry,
So
I'm
now
having
we're looking.
technical difficulties. I missed the past few minutes.
No, what did you say about this skier originally? You were the first one to speak.
Oh, his tips diverge at the top of his left turn, and that tells us that he's inclinating and putting pressure on the inside ski.
Cool. And because you're an L3 candidate, when and where?
Initiation into shaping.
Initiation. What else have there been? What other things could we also notice about this skier?
I see the finish the turn. His hips are following the turn, and so that kind of contributes to whole body turning. So he needs to, well, kind of push his pelvis back so that outside hip would not go too much forward.
So now we're kind of diverging away from fundamentals. We're looking at
It's
some other
it contributes
cues.
to center mass or base of support issue.
Well, it's still related to that too, but it's also related to rotation and edging, isn't it? And we have some other core values that we look at in skiing that might help contribute to that.
I was gonna ask if I could go there, Gumby.
You can go there. Please do.
Well, there's a couple of them, but the one that really catches my eye is maintaining counter through the transition. I don't think he ever has counter. Except in I actually rotated my upper body away from my skis type move.
Mm-hmm.
rather than the skis
So he's
steered
not
more than the
rotating
upper
in to
body.
counter. He is actually countering and then rotating, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
He's got, he does have a counter in his shorter radius turns, but it doesn't start at the pelvic girdle. It starts in the lumbar. As the turns get bigger, that counter disappears and he tends to align more with his skis. The whole body is turning with him.
And that counter in the lumbar area is actually often created by an upper body rotation at the beginning of the turn in the new direction, where he finishes the turn square and rotates the upper body so that it aligns with the fall line.
Which he needs because he starts each and every turn by extending both legs and sometimes extending his hip flexors as well. He doesn't have the ability, well, he might have the ability, but he doesn't demonstrate starting a turn by shortening the old outside leg. So he's got a very up and over maneuver, even though it's very well refined and fairly fluid. And sometimes the extension in the upper body is so great that he gets a counterflex in his lumbar spine.
So let's narrow this back down because you kind of bounced around a little bit there, Mike. Was there some other place you were going that might supplement what Dion was talking about?
No,
There
they're
any
all
common threads or
interconnected,
well, they're always interconnected, but
with
yes.
that lack of rotational counter, as it were. The only way for the individual to get a new turn started is by extending into the new turn and getting the shoulders to tip before the feet.
I'm going to add to the common thread because it seems to be that Mike is really talking about how the legs flex independently to move the center of mass from turn to turn, and his legs flex and extend simultaneously.
Yeah.
I would
Agreed.
agree with that.
Yeah. So
his foot
what
to
is
foot
that?
pressure is lacking.
The pressure is lacking?
His ability to regulate or manage pressure ski to ski could use some
There we go.
work.
Yeah, because
He's doing it with the upper body instead of with the legs.
So what is he doing? What is he doing instead? We've noticed that he is not countered through the turn. We noticed that he's not really using the center of leg flexing and extending to move the center of mass, but instead more of an up and then over. What is that resulting in? How is that? What's he doing?
The upper body tips, then the legs follow the upper body.
Cool. So a whole lot of inclination, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to use inclination because Donnie's going to get pissed.
I'm going to say inclination because that's part of the fundamental.
But yes, lots of
agree with you.
inclination, minimal lateral angulation.
Yeah, so if I was to bring in another fundamental, I'd say something about rotation because another thing I'm also noticing is that the start of each turn, that outside shoulder moves first. The new inside shoulder tends to move first. And that's not really it's not really a what I would consider a flaw. Instead of it's more of a building that entire piece that I have to move from one side to the other and I need to incline and I need to drop the shoulder to get in first, right? So it's more symptoms of the overall.
Chuck, he kind of also parks and rides on his basic parallels.
Bingo.
Yeah. Can you tell me? We've just heard a number of things that are happening. Why is he parking and riding, Katie?
Because his weight's more on the inside leg. So he's not
Cool.
got any lateral separation and
So
no
give me some
counter.
biomechanics there.
Okay,
He's
biomechanics.
he's got more weight on the inside leg. So what does that allow him to do or not allow him to do?
He he has more weight on the inside leg, correct?
Sure.
So it's not allowing him to actually, um, he's stuck in the back hip, so he's not able to transfer weight in a counter direction towards the new turn. So he's just kind of riding it and getting a higher edge angle at the bottom of the turn from the shaping to the bottom. And then he's stuck. So he has to make that up and over move to get into the next turn. So he's getting more speed and momentum at the bottom of the turn. Is that what you're looking for, or you're asking more for biomechanics?
I would like to know a little bit more about the biomechanics, but that's a pretty good explanation.
Well, he can't. Um,
And let me preface
Biomechanically,
this by saying, what should he be doing?
okay, well, I just want to say biomechanically, if you're stuck there, that's why he has to start the turn with, he's over rotating and is ending a little more square. So he has to start the turn with a shoulder movement.
Right.
Yeah.
And what does that result in?
That divergence that we're seeing at the new beginning of the
Well,
turn.
or that speaks to the inclination part, but what's the fundamental for rotation say? What's the ideal?
He doesn't have any, he has upper body instability. He's not maintaining a stable upper body against a turning lower body.
Okay. So what is the fundamental for rotation? What's the ideal there?
That we want to be creating a rotation that is guided throughout the turn, and not more rotating at the bottom of the turn. Maybe.
Huh? Maybe. We would like to see leg rotation. So we'd
That's what
like
I
to see
said.
the skis rotate through leg rotation separate from the upper body.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Just not that way.
Just not that way.
Yeah, I mean, stable upper
Because
body and
yeah,
like we want to see his legs turning like this.
I agree. I think one of the reasons why he has the inability to control the leg
Oh,
rotation
sorry,
through
didn't have my
lower
camera
leg,
on.
having control ski rotation through leg rotation is because he is aligned over the inside leg, which makes it difficult for him to continuously rotate the legs. So he ends up rotating a lot at the top because of the upper body twist, and then it's over.
Yeah, and that's why he parks and rides.
And
I,
that's why he parks and rides.
I think that part of the reason also for his park and ride is the fact that he doesn't change his leg length inside outside ski.
Yeah, that speaks to Mike, what Mike was saying. He does not flex and extend and move the center of mass from side to side. Yes.
Right. And I believe that if he were to decrease the leg length on his inside ski, it would force him to counter and give him more control on what's going on that outside ski.
Okay, cool. So now we're thinking about trying to figure out how to teach him, right?
Right.
So what this is I've got all this information. I pulled it all together and I kind of have an idea. You brought this up. I have an idea that what I'd like to do with this particular skier, Paul. We'll call him Paul because I think that's his name. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Paul about how we want to make a change to his skiing so that he allows him to pressure the outside ski better, build angles, and then have them give the ability to hopefully rotate the legs underneath his stable upper body instead of rotating the upper body to get the lower legs to move. Yes? Is that the bullet points that we got there? Or am I missing something? Or am I just way off? So what would be a task? That'd be our first constraint. We're just not gonna go ski willy-nilly and talk about it. what would be a task that we would do?
I would go to 1,000 steps.
1,000 steps. Why?
Well, because of what, I'm sorry, what was it? Who was just speaking from
That
Stowe?
was Mike.
Mike,
Mike.
yeah. Yeah, like to try to get the ski to ski sensation, especially to try to increase foot to foot in the shaping phase.
Okay.
And I would deterrain it a little bit, see if we can get on more groomed terrain to practice it first. If you're talking about a constraint.
Yeah. So the first constraint's the task, right? So
Yeah.
we're narrowing it down to this is a task that that's going to help identify either the strength or the weakness that I want to change, right? And then how are we going to get him to focus on what you want him to know? What are you gonna say or do with Paul that further constrains? Now we're building an awareness about what we'd like him to think about or notice when he's doing that.
I might want him to only step during certain phases of the turn. So I might
cool.
say, let's just step in the shaping phase and notice, because it's not going to allow him to incline as much. So that might be something that you can aesthetically be aware of, one thing. And then it's going to be really hard for him to do it. Yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to do it and not get going too fast. So you might want to have, you might want to actually, you could even reverse the park and ride. You could have them like try to lengthen out a little bit of a patience in the top in the initiation to shaping, and then slowly, you could play around with all of it.
He already shows that he can do it, right?
Right.
He's not spitting out at the top of every turn, but he does on a lot of them, right? But he's shown that in those basic parallels that he can shape the top of the turn. So can we get him to step in those spots that we want him to make a change? And then we don't worry about the transition part, right?
Right.
Right. Cool. And how is that going to change
Chuck,
what Mike is looking for? Yeah.
You had just made a comment, and it's kind of what along the lines I was thinking that when I
Please
was
spin me
watching the
down.
video,
Yeah.
there are different constraints when you watch these videos. So they're
know.
performing different tasks. And so watching it and looking for the ski outcome, there's different outcomes in relation to the task that they're asking. So I'm seeing a difference between anything that's sort of in the medium corridor versus the short corridor. He tends to flex at a faster rate and then kind of remain there in that park and ride section. But when you watch the short turns, the rate matches the short turn corridor much better. So he becomes less static because the time he doesn't have the time to remain static. So I think in speaking sort of to your point of choosing a task, identifying something like I know they're doing one medium, two shorts. If they stretch that out to kind of five shorts, five mediums, and keep switching it back and forth to identify the staticness between the two, it would help identify the rate that he's moving at, both in turning his legs, independently flexing his legs, and flexing in general to have the dirt match the turn size.
Sure. And I agree with you. That's one of the things I noticed in his skiing too, is why are his basic parallels and his medium turns different than his short turns?
Charlie,
And
could you do a funnel? You could do a funnel.
You could have him do a funnel.
Or you could you could reverse the funnel. You could start short and go to medium, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
I think anything that makes him play with the dirt so that he has to draw out his movements over a longer period of time in something that has a longer turn. Because you kind of every movement pattern almost mirrors a regular short turn, not even a performance short, but a regular short turn is his initiation. And then after that, he just becomes static to create the shape that he wants after that. And that's what I think that's what causes the inside movement, the squaring, some of the loss of ski snow interaction. So it's just trying to play with that dirt through different turn shapes.
So I have a suggestion that I don't know if I'm totally off,
No wrong answers.
What if we just have him lift the old downhill ski? So this way there's a weight transfer, an early weight transfer, and he would have to be in proper position to initiate the turn. And once he initiates the turn, I think it'll follow. Because most of the issue there is like his difficulty in turn initiation, which essentially screws up the rest of the turn. Does that make sense?
Yes. So how and when? And what are we doing this in a medium radius turns? Are we doing it in a funnel? Are we
I
doing it
think
in the
we
short
need
radius
to,
turns?
well, I would start with the medium radius turns, and at the between the apex and the end of the turn, I would have him lift the downhill ski so that you get that early weight transfer to the new outside ski.
And when would he put the new inside ski down on the ground again on the snow?
Once he's transferred the weight to the new outside ski. So it wouldn't be for a very long period of time. It would just be enough to transfer the weight and get the turn going, the next turn going.
Comments on that?
What about starting with a patience turn?
What are we trying to get him to do, Jerry?
Round the turn out and to transfer that weight to the outside, have him keep that inside ski light. Or
So Jerry, what constraint could you put on his patient's turn that makes him have to be listening light?
I could not understand that.
What constraint would you put on there that would force him to be more patient at the top of the turn?
Well, just to start out from a standstill and tip the skis and tell them to stay light on that inside ski, directing pressure to that outside ski around the turn.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea, Jerry. Can you hear me okay?
No, I'm having a real hard time. It's breaking up.
Gumby, will you translate for me?
Yeah. I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
If I tell you to do something, but don't put a physical constraint on it, there is nothing to actually make you change your movement.
If you tell him to do something but
Like
don't
have
what?
him do a patience turn with the new inside ski's tail off the ground
Okay.
so that he can't stand on it.
Okay.
Like a physical constraint that prevents him from doing the part of the movement pattern that you really want to change.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
Any other comments? No right or wrong answers.
Doc, you know where I would go. I'd just start him with outside ski turns, have him do the end of the turn first, because you got to get him over the outside ski. Just start him with the end of the turn, going across the hill, picking up the inside tail of the ski. And once he gets comfortable with that, because it's going to feel awkward to him, then you move into, just pick it up earlier in the turn as he gets better at it.
Can you be more specific about bringing some awareness to it?
Hey,
What is he
Scott,
supposed to notice or?
I'm actually gonna cut Gumby off.
Oh,
This is somebody
pardon me.
who is going for dev team. They can do an outside ski turn.
Yeah.
If you ask him to do outside ski turns, he's going to do fantastic, phenomenal outside ski turns. He can do the isolated task. He's not putting it into his blend. So you're going to have to be tougher and meaner with somebody at the level 3 and above.
Have you seen him do outside ski turns? Do you know this skier?
He passed his level 3. He can do
This
outside
is
ski turns.
yeah. This is a
examiner
tryout.
tryouts.
Yeah.
Lane
He's
changes
passed all
on
that.
variable terrain.
There's a good one because it forces him to adjust his rhythm.
Yeah. Just the timing. This is
If
going
you
to
want
go
to do
back to
an
what.
outside ski turn, make him do an outside ski turn where he has to do a one-legged railroad track across the transition, like on, off, on, off, on, off. Now start the turn. Something that will actually challenge his movement pattern and force him to add it into the blend.
And I agree with you, Dion. I do think he's a very competent skier, and we're looking for something to break patterns. I might consider playing with the dirt of his flexion and extension movements and change it in ways, for example, constant movement turns. You are either flexing or you are extending, and there is no dead spots. And he's a competent enough skier, he should be able to identify his own dead spots. And then alter that again by saying focus only on the outside leg and really force the flexion to happen there. And again, you can modify it again by saying don't extend until after you've changed edges and are on your new set of edges, and then put an extension in. And any of these and variations of the flexion and extension movements, I think would be helpful for this. And you could work this. I mean, he's comfortable in this terrain. You could keep him here. But again, I think he's a accomplished enough skier. He could do a lot of self-analysis when we start to modify the timing of his flexion and extension and which legs are flexing and extending.
So kind of to Charlie's point, he's already doing several tasks here. He's got lots of tasks. And we're trying to modify what he's doing in those tasks.
So he's not
Just the dirt.
doing body movements for short radius turns when he's doing medium and large radius turns. His body movement is always a short body movement, which gives him the park and ride.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
because
let's focus on modifying and changing those flexion and extension movements.
so yeah, elongate it out, right? I mean, this is kind of going
Change
back
the
to what Charlie
timing,
was saying. We
change
want to
when you do
elongate
it,
out.
change what's happening with the individual legs,
Mm-hmm.
and explore that.
To give another little idea too, like, it's something that I kind of worked with like through watching his movement pattern is to Dion's point, like this person probably can do much harder tasks, but sometimes with better skiers who at this point like he probably understands his skiing greatly. Sometimes it can also be something bringing awareness to something very simple. And in watching his skiing and watching his pull swing, his touch is at the correct time, but the swing is all happens at once at the very end. And if you bring awareness to his swing, if he is always swinging his pull throughout the turn, so that the duration of the pull swing happens with the size of the turn, that may bring awareness to a good skier without having to go into some challenging task too. That could create kind of a simple fix, a focus for them to work on to create more movement, less staticness over a period of time.
Yeah, we kind of talked about lately in our RMT meetings about, that movement of the outside hand to anticipate the next pull plant. his outside hand doesn't really move that much. It just kind of gets there and stays. We actually ask him to like adjust that or allow the pole to come around with the legs. Is that what you're kind of asking for, Charlie? To adjust that pole plan, make it more deliberate?
So I'm thinking that like specifically the baskets, making sure the baskets are always moving. So when you
Yeah,
watch him through a turn, the basket stays static, sort of back by the heel piece of his binding. And then
yeah,
right at the finishing phase, as he's about to enter the transition, he makes a sudden swing for a pull touch. So
yep,
the rate and the duration of the swing doesn't match the size of the turn. So a lot of times, if you just bring awareness to the basket of the pull moving to match the same rate and duration of the turn, then it can subconsciously start to create moving of the rest of the body to mirror that. And it doesn't always
yep,
have to be a really hard task to bring awareness to that of a level 3 or higher skier.
yep,
Charlie,
yep. Cool.
I have a question for you. How much of that is due to being observed and being super careful and therefore not being loose and able to move smoothly?
Yeah, I'm sure a big part of that is going on. I mean, so to give like a short background. I'm a level 3. I'm on the Alpine Eastern Development Team. And so I've been through a tryout, which is extremely stressful. This is Stowe actually watching it. I know some of
Yeah.
these trails, it's hayride, it's steep. I know
Yeah,
this day, it was super icy. It's like dust on crust. Like they got like 20 inches on top of it. So yeah, you have national team members watching you. Some of these you're trying to count your turns when it's 1 and 2. Like that's happening fast in changing conditions. So yeah, I mean, but that's the task, right? Like take your mind off of skiing and see what appears. And so yeah, I'm sure a lot of it is your mind being on other things, but that's part of training and making sure that when your mind is off of it and you're watching your students, your demos are still good to the public that's watching you ski by.
I actually really liked that question about how much the stress might be playing into it. But even bringing that to his attention, the way Charlie was talking about it, then gives him a performance cue to help deal with the stress. If it's stress that's adding into this so quick pole plant that doesn't match his turn, because he's trying to be really careful and really exact, that gives him something that helps define his rhythm, even when the snow is quite variable. So then it might help him start to move more fluidly from turn to turn. Or conversely, having been through this myself, as soon as you ask him to do something with his poles, he might fall to pieces. Because some of us don't use our poles as intentionally as we could. And the first few times you ask us to use our poles intentionally, it looks like we're trying to ride a unicycle and juggle 5 balls at the same time.
kind of herky
Sometimes
jerky.
sometimes it gets really herky jerky and like we start wedging and doing all sorts of crazy shit because we no longer can feel our skis. We have now, because we haven't ever consciously used our poles in a way that helps set our rhythm.
Mhm.
So it could go either way. Either way, it's going to actually be beneficial for the skier because it's going to show him a place in his skiing. It's going to highlight the stalls and the parks and the places he gets stuck as he's moving down the hill.
You know, you bring up a valid concept with that too. And at his level of skiing, a question I might ask is, what does core tension and stable upper body mean to you? And I bring this up because core tension means not just the abdominal muscles, but it includes the thighs and the glutes. And you see an awful lot of flexion in the glute area. But where you see a lot of tension is through the shoulders, the neck area, and the arms, and they're just locked into place. So
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
like
Across the
all the
back,
tension is in the shoulder area, not a lot of tension in the core area, i.e. abs, lower back, and glutes and thighs. You see a lot of flexing in the hip flexors and a lot of flexing in the knees.
But
Big
Mike, I
thought.
don't know about you, but I know for me, when I'm being watched and under pressure, that's where I carry the tension in the shoulders and the neck.
Oh, we all turn into statues, right?
And we all fall back on bad habits.
We do. Good night, Ilona. Thank you for coming. All right, and I agree with Charlie. I'm not gonna. I'm all looking at this guy too, and this is my personal opinion. And this addresses that idea of the stuck spot, which is one of the things I first saw about him is the short turns. Is that I'd like to see more continuous movement through. I want to see the ski move, not because of ski performance where the ski is on edge and it's turning itself. I'd like to see him turn those legs more. I would like to see him do a task, short turns or medium turns or funnels or something like that, where the skis are continuously moving, turning continuously this way and then turning continuously this way, and see if we can adopt more upper lower separation through that idea. So if I could get him to steer those tips around and then steer the tips around going the other direction, I'm hoping that will help with what we're seeing with the park and ride, where everything's happening really early and then it kind of just ceases to do anything in the last half of the turn.
So kind of variations on pain in the S turns.
Kind of variations of pain in the ass. I've also thought about like retraction turns too, might be something. Katie brought up also something in there. Well, she just put pain in the ass in just a second ago, and tuck turns might be something interesting too.
It could also be
Mike stole my
interesting
idea. Huh?
to feed into his strength because he has a fairly rapid extension.
He does.
What if we could move that rapid extension back to where he had to pop twice on the old edges
Mhm.
before starting the turn? So feed into something that he already does well, which is extend both legs rapidly,
Yeah.
but make him do it on the old edges instead of using it to transition to the new edges. Because that will actually force him to control the amount of inclination he develops. And in order to change the radius of the turn, going from a medium turn into a short turn, he's then going to have to also develop separation.
Yeah. Million ways to
I have
skin
another
the same cat,
fun.
right?
I have another.
Yeah,
I
go
have
ahead.
another fun wacky task, but it's sort of a modified version of I can't think of the name of it. I want to say it's like the drill where you clap in front of yourself and behind yourself. I can't think of the name of that drill.
Oh yeah, right. It's in a yeah, okay. Yeah,
Is
I
it
know
a
what you're talking
Swiss?
about. It's like the Swiss drill.
So I've
You pass the pulls behind your
yeah.
back.
So I've
Yeah.
I've played with that drill for people with sort of timing and inactive movements like this, and sort of where you're seeing separation and flexion issues with awareness, where you the point is to clap, and the clap takes place when the skis are flat. And so it brings awareness to the transition. But once they start sort of playing with that, the importance becomes where the clap is directed three-dimensionally. So if we're looking for separation, the clap can happen, let's say if we're in transition, it can happen over the downhill ski toe piece. And we can even play with the height of the clap. Is the clap taking place lower, somewhere down around the height of your pelvis, or is it happening higher? And trying to coach them through that so they're not doing it out of the shoulder socket, they're doing it through sort of a whole body movement, but it brings awareness of like separation, where you're moving your center of mass. And it can even be the you want them to swing their arms throughout the entire turn. So that if it was a medium radius turn, it would be a very slow clap. And it's if it's a very short turn, it's a very fast clap. But it's kind of something that you work through at Stowe. We teach a lot of all day lessons, and it's something that you might start with. It's just like clapping at transition, and then once they might realize like, oh, I thought this was my transition, but they're actually clapping on their old edges. So once you figure out where transition is, then you start to figure out sort of rotationally where to clap. And then once they start to figure out the direction of the new apex and where that clap should take place, sort of diagonally along the length of their skis, then you can start to play with vertical to start to change the way they flex and extend.
Cool.
Level twos better watch out. That's coming their way.
I loved how you use that constraint to help identify parts and pieces in the turns that you may or may not be aware of. I like the idea that, using the clap maybe after edge exchange as an identifier, something that you can get them to focus on, because that obviously is a drill that may not be for the general public all the time. It might be for instructors, which is fine because we teach them all the time too. But that idea of like they tend to like flatten and start the new turn before they clap because that's what they're supposed to do, right? I've done that same kind of drill with hops too, where I might institute a hop at the initiation or somewhere in the transition or after the transition or at the apex of the turn to modify how they think about their movements.
Dion may actually have him hopping all the way through the turn to reestablish balance and flexion and extension with both legs.
I mean, bunny hops are the bomb, baby.
Yeah, Dion's like that.
I love bunny hops.
We keep talking about his transition, and I went back and looked at the video again. He is completely impatient with that flat ski portion of his turn.
Yeah.
I would
It's very fast,
that when he finishes one turn, to give his flat ski portion a 2 count.
Yeah.
1, 2. And then
I mean, that might be the simplest thing we've kind of run across today, right? That idea of just adding some time to it.
Exactly.
Because he's so quick at the top. It's like, all this happens really fast, and then this is slower, right? The lower
that
part's
might
like
be difficult
twice as long as the upper part.
Since his movement to get tipped onto the new ski starts with the upper body and it moves down the hill until it hits the tipping point and the skis just flip. He doesn't have the ability to make it gradational at this time because of his lack of individual movement in his legs.
But don't you think that if he takes the time to be aware of his legs being the same length on that transition portion, that he would have the time to think about getting that long leg, short leg start to that turn?
Perhaps. I'm thinking in his case, because of his pattern, he may just slow how quickly his body tips down the hill versus really initializing things with independent leg flexion and extension. He's a pretty refined skier, and that movement pattern is a very refined movement pattern. It's a thought.
It's a thought.
Another great point
Any
to
other
that,
questions?
Go
ahead. Go ahead, Charlie.
Mike had made that point. I think that somebody had commented earlier about picking up a ski, and it kind of made me think about, well, if we're talking about leg length changes. I was training with a group for the Eastern team, and we were doing a task where we would just in the apex, like in the fall line, we would pick up the inside ski just for a split second and put it right back down. It's a great way to bring focus to shortening that inside leg, making sure you're on the outside ski, to the point that Mike was just talking about with making sure that we didn't lose that outside ski.
Especially on his right footers,
Mm-hmm.
because he tends to twist more on his right footers than his lefts. All right, cool. We're past time. We're way past time. So, thank you, everybody. What did we get out of this tonight? Just in a couple of words, tell me what you got out of tonight. Don't have to put them in the chat. I prefer to take my abuse where I get it.
Well, I haven't said anything today, so I'm going to ask
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of, this is more of a question. It is a question.
Mhm.
So this guy is trying out for the examiner training exam. So does
Yeah.
that mean he already has his 3, and doesn't he
Mhm.
already have the equivalent of the RMT?
Yeah, he would be yeah, he would be on the Easter.
No.
He's got an Easter.
No.
No?
I listened to his audio. This is actually he's trying out for dev team, which
Oh,
we
is
don't
he?
have in Rocky Mountain, Laura.
Okay.
I believe he has since passed through dev team, looking at some of his other stuff, but he was unsuccessful at this occasion. But
Okay.
he was trying to
So
join the
would dev team,
development pathway to become an examiner.
okay, so dev team would be kind of comparable to the RMT. It would be like the step after the level 3.
Yes.
Okay. But I feel like I mean, I guess that's what we do. We point out what's wrong, but I just keep thinking, this guy must be really good. He's a level 3. He can't be that bad. He can't be aft all the time. He can't have no idea what counter is. I heard of counter before I had my level 1. I mean, I don't know. It's just been kind of funny because it's like he's got to be doing a lot of things well. And I guess the theme I got is that he's doing a lot of things not well, but he's doing those not well things in really subtle, polished ways.
So that's
kind of
the
what I got
trap,
out of
right?
tonight.
That's the
Okay.
trap we run into all the time. And that's why I'm always kind of encouraging you guys to say, hey, what is this guy doing that's pretty good?
Yeah.
Right? Because we could be standing here talking about, Jonathan Ballou, and all of a sudden, his left footer isn't quite the same as his right footer, and blah blah blah. And the next thing you know, we're staring at guy, he's just not a very good skier. This guy's a good skier.
This guy's a good skier. Okay.
The guy's a good skier, right? I mean,
Right.
what we're looking at is how can we make him better, even though he's a good skier already, and we know he's accomplished, right? He's probably been teaching for years. He knows all the concepts. He could probably even tell you all of the fundamentals. Well, maybe, I don't know. But the point is that he has some things that he does good, and he has some stuff that he doesn't do good. I mean, I'm looking at the video too, Lauren. I'm like, I don't really like the short turns that much. I think they're a little quick. And I don't think he does a very good job of angulating early in those because he's kind of relying on this up and over movement. And then why is he doing that up and over movement? But when he goes to basic parallels, the up and over movement disappears. And all of a sudden he's smoothly going from edge to edge using a little bit of angulation. So I'm like, wait a minute, why is that happening? That's like different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think the parts and pieces are there. And the problem that we have, trust me, Charlie can probably vouch for this as much as Dion and Mike and I, that we are subject to our own tendencies and our own habits. And we tend to, when we don't think about stuff, we go back to those bad habits. And then what's worse is now we're stuck with a task and I got to count out 2 turns and then make a medium radius turn. Well, wait a minute. What was my focus again?
Right.
I was thinking about my pole touch. Oh crap, I was supposed to only do 2 turns.
And then all of a sudden, and then the examiner's going, yeah, we thought he was pretty good. He really sucks.
Well, they say he really sucks to be an examiner.
Yeah, exactly. And
they don't come around and take away your pin.
that's an
Yeah.
old adage of, we just all suck. We just suck at a higher level, right?
Yeah,
So,
but all the new pins have got microchips in them, and if you don't ski at the appropriate level, they just fall off.
Oh man.
Well, that
well, it's like
explains where your
it's like
pins
Well,
Shaw
go.
said to
I
That
think that,
explains why I've lost all my pins.
me. That's
and
what
I think
Shaw
Laura
said to
makes a
me
good
on the
point. I
first
think
day.
that her point about seeing a lot of good things, I think that kind of, I mean, that's MA, right? That's the good and the bad, but also that falls under the people skills. That falls under the conversation you have with them. And like the Chuck's point, like Chuck really
Yeah.
liked his basic parallel. So,
Mhm.
if I was having a conversation with that person, it would be, I really like your basic parallel. Like, do you feel something different between your basic parallel and your short turns? And then start to have that conversation. So I've made a compliment. We've identified something that we like that works well, and how can we make those movement patterns appear in another turn shape? So I'm not just saying, I really hate your short turns, and this is
Right.
what I don't like about them. It's, I really like this in your skiing, and how can we make this appear everywhere else too? And to, like Dion said it too, like this is a strength extension. How can we make that appear elsewhere? But that all works through people skills too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a conversation, right? And that's the one difference between the constraints we were talking about with Sasha Rurik, where the constraint is environmental for him. He's always setting up courses and stuff, and he's like, I'm going to give you maybe a point or two, and I might say anything to you all day. We actually have to interact with our guests, and it's very important because we have all these different outcomes that we have to account for. Where they got one, I got to go fast. Like we got guests that are like, I want to go do trees, right? Well, okay, let's talk about how we are going to go do trees. What are the things that we need to do trees? How do we need to change your skiing to be in trees? And then use that. And that interaction part is just vital. It's what we do, right? We're instructors. We love to talk about ourselves. I'm sorry, others.
Yeah, I'd like to say something because I haven't said
Yes,
it
ma'am.
maybe
Go
either.
ahead.
So what did I get out of it tonight? I like the word constraint. I mean, and I don't know who mentioned it earlier, but we can always give them a task to do something, but it not necessarily will change their skiing if we don't change like the timing or the slope or the speed or some other constraint.
Yeah, those are the S's, but we also
Yeah.
want to bring awareness maybe to a movement that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. So, like I said, when I asked you to go slower, slow down so that you could feel the differences that are happening. One of the things I noticed was how my foot expanded as I was putting more pressure on that ball of the foot. It was like, I didn't even notice that until just now. Right. So, that constraint of speed and timing and all that stuff, and then have environmental, those are all things that we can use. Those are tools in our toolboxes to help them bring awareness. Cool. Good. Anybody else?
Chuck,
Patty brings
Chuck,
up
you
a
just made
good.
me think of something else. Oh,
Yeah. I'm sorry.
sorry, Mike.
That's okay, Charlie.
Um, somebody had mentioned earlier about, and I don't remember who it was, I apologize. Somebody said something about how much is the staticness a result of being in a tryout and being watched. And you just made me think a little bit, Chuck, with constraints that also, for people who are going for assessments, having that you can also set up the sort of emotional constraints. So when I was training specifically for the last tryout, I set myself up and had other trainers set me up in circumstances to perform in front of large groups of people that made me feel uncomfortable, or people who were mentors. And so you can kind of set up similar emotional constraints to put pressure on yourself so that you can train under the circumstances to be able to create movement. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it.
Yeah. Cool. Good. That's a very, very good point. Thank you.
Yep. And I was going to say, to Patty's point, yes, those constraints are valid, but all of the constraints that was put forward have been physical constraints. So it's okay to have the visceral constraints in there, but unless you got the cerebral constraint to go with it, that is the understanding with it, nothing's going to hold.
Yep.
You need
Gotta
to
know, gotta have
understand
reason.
why you're doing it. It's not great to say, "Wow, that turn was great." It's why was it great? What changed? What did I do that was different? What was the effect of those movements? And that understanding needs to be there to tie it together. And I think a lot of times we spend so much time giving people the physical constraints, we forget about the mental components of it.
Exactly.
And you can tell me I'm full of it.
You're full of it, but that's all right. That's why we love you. All right, I'm going to stop recording now, but thank you everybody for coming tonight. I've managed to keep your attention for 22 people, at least an hour for most of you before they had to bounce off. I know it's like almost 10 o'clock on the Eastern time. So, but thank you again for coming.